In my last video, we talked about deck building styles. Today, we're going to be digging into themes for your decks in the second of this Deck Builders series. Thank you for visiting the channel today. This is the second video in my deck building series. If you missed the first one, I'll have a link for you floating around the video. For now, let's dive into themes for your commander decks. Magic is a diverse game, but it can be boiled down into themes that are present in each color and the mechanics for those colors. When building for your decks, you get a choice. You can either lean into those themes, or you can simply ignore them. And you just go with powerful stuff deck. It's a valid choice if that's how you want to play Magic. However, if you want to maximize your interest and fun within the game, rather than forcing yourself to play the best deck possible all the time, and this is Commander for frack's sake, not a competitive tournament, then I would recommend finding a theme that you enjoy, a commander that supports that theme if possible, and ride that to fun at your next game of Commander. Now, I'm not going to sit here and list off every theme that exists in this game. That would make for a boring and long as hell video, but I will show you some of my favorite themes to mess around with in Commander. First is Chaos. If you've watched my Nira Wild Mage video, this should have been obvious. I love the idea of creating an unpredictable environment for my opponents to navigate, and Chaos is the perfect theme for doing this. To lean into this style of play, you're going to want cards with random effects such as Possibility Storm, or things that feed the instability at the table, such as giving your opponents and yourself more and more cards using things like Font of Mythos. Then you're going to sit back and watch the chaos unfold. For more on this, check out the Nira video, link will be at the top of the screen. Another theme that I like to lean heavily into is tokens. I find joy in flooding the board with creatures and seeing if I can make them big enough to become true threats in the game. Most of the time you're going to be creating a bunch of little 1/1 dorks that don't really do anything, and then all of a sudden they're just like big beefy beaters. Many of the decks that I do this with, I'll start with Doubling Season and Parallel Lives, and if White's in the deck, Anointed Procession, just to help flood the board with more and more tokens. Then it's a matter of how do I want to approach the deck? Do I want to go total token spam with Reese the Redeemed, or do I want to create a bunch of non-token creatures en masse like treasures and convert them into cats and dogs with Jenny Faye Jetmir's second? Or do I want to go a little more obscure and use -1/-1 counters with Hapatra Vizier of Poisons to make death-touching snakes and try to use those negative counter synergies that she offers? The choice is yours to make on how you want to make the deck play out and what colors you want to use. The third theme that I like to use is Tribal. Basing your deck around a tribe, a deck mostly about one creature type, is one of the most popular themes in Magic, and this goes back a couple decades in the game, but really wasn't pushed until about the Onslaught block, when they had Onslaught, Legions, and Scourge, and they were pushing the synergies of the goblins and zombies and elves in that block. And since then, it's become one of the most default style for the gameplay design to focus on, a handful of tribes on each plane and try to make them playable. The nice part about them doing this is every time they try to push tribal into standard, it makes tribal decks in Commander even better, as long as there's already some existing support for those tribes. My personal favorites include zombies, usually headed by the Scarab God for a blue-black version, or Ghoul Color Gisa for a mono black version. Vampires, Edgar Markov is my commander of choice for this tribe, but he is too strong for casual games. It doesn't matter how well you dumb the deck down, it's a very strong commander. Or Merfolk, Tyrant of Araska is the commander I use for this deck, and it's just fine on its own, but can be very busted if you build around things that untap your creatures. Magic has so many different tribes that you can kind of pick whatever tribe you want, build around it, and you're going to have a strong deck to have fun with. The last theme I'm going to mention here, and it's more of a recent thing, is a Triggers theme. And you might ask, Triggers as a theme? You bet your butt. In the last few years, Wizards has printed a whole host of cards and legendary creature support that support triggered effects in a game. All it takes is understanding what kind of triggers you want to build around and pick the commander that best fits that theme. So say if you want to build around Enters the Battlefield triggers, Yarok the Desecrated is your elemental, and tons of ETB creatures available in those colors are going to make a really good deck. Or maybe you want to go the other direction and focus on death triggers instead. Teysa Karlov came into the game just a few years ago and is a lot of fun to build around with so many things that say when this creature dies, do this. Well, with her on the board, you're going to do it twice. Or maybe you want to use the most recent commander that deals with triggers, Ishin Two Heavens as One, to make an attack trigger deck. If that's your jam, he's your guy. Any way you want to build around a triggers theme, Magic now has a way to do it. And with that, today's video is coming to its conclusion. As I said before, I'm not going to sit here and list off every single theme in Magic as it would take too long, but what do you think of my favorites? Do any of them interest you? Do you like a different theme than I do? Please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear what themes you like and what commanders you like to build around in them. As always, I appreciate your thoughts and thank you for watching. Keep an eye out for the next part in this series of videos and have a great day.